Internet, Eric here. New concept to my channel as of today, but not a new concept to YouTube. I've mentioned before that I've met quite a few cool people here through YouTube, and one cool person that I've met over the last few months, maybe, mainly because through other people, is the Horror Man. I will put the link to his channel below. Really cool guy. He's got awesome videos. They're usually collection videos, at least from the ones that I've watched. Different VHS tapes, a lot of random selections. And he just now got into live streaming over the last few months. And I've been a part of one, but I think it was on Bronco Juggalo Talks Movies channel. But I was conversing with Horror Man. And what he has on his channel specifically is something called the Slashback Challenge. And basically what it is every Saturday morning, or I think it usually Saturday at midnight his time, he uploads a video discussing a certain slasher film with a specific theme. And after his discussion, he tells you what the next week's theme will be, and you have to discuss or review a film based on that criteria. And he said it's free for anyone to do. There's no weekly commitment. Just do it when you can. And I finally said, what the hell? I'm gonna do it whenever I can. I don't know if I'm gonna be too tired to do it or whatever. But this week, he said this week is Legendary Slashers, and the movie has to feature some sort of legend or story, which is either the legend or story is either about the killer or a specific location. Well, I think my film tonight fits that criteria on both. Today, and this was great because I knew exactly what I was going to do, and I've been wanting to rewatch this film for a long, long time. 1992's Candyman. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I discuss plot spoilers and specific scenes, so watch at your own risk. Candyman is so good. Basic plot is we're following Helen Lyle, played by Virginia Madsen, and she's a grad student in Chicago, and she's writing a thesis on urban legend folklore, and one of them happens to be, she hears about the Candyman. And basically, the Candyman story is the Bloody Mary story. You look in the mirror, say the name 5 times, and they appear behind you. Of course, this one, Candyman has a rusty hook attached to his hand, and he guts you to death. Long story short, she hears that a lot of people in Cabrini Green, which is basically this project location, urban, how would you say it, low income black community lives. The gangbangers, the drug dealers, this and that. And there was some murders there based on the Candyman. Eventually, she debunks that, and you find out that Candyman was just a gangbanger using the urban legend name to strike intimidation. Well, since she debunked that, the real Candyman comes to torment her because now no one believes in him. And then the rest of the film is her dealing with that, and also the Candyman causing murders that she is getting the blame for. So I absolutely love this movie. It's based on a short story called The Forbidden by Clive Barker, and it wasn't directed by Clive Barker, it was directed by Bernard Rose. But like all Clive Barker films, whether he is the director or he is the writer, you have that feel, because there's a huge dignified feeling in all of his movies that have so much blood and guts and gore, and that's what I love about this film. First off, we're going to talk about Candyman himself, played by Tony Todd. He is he is exactly what I was saying. He is this dignified. He's not really a lord. He was the son of a slave who I won't get into his backstory right now, but he was the son of a slave, and his father ended up becoming a dignitary or something like that. So whenever we see him, he's walking. He's prim and proper. He's walking. His hands are behind his back. He is standing up straight. He's got this overcoat. Let's see if you can really see. You can kind of see it here. this overcoat, and he's got these nice looking shoes and these slacks, so he looks very dignified and prim and proper. He speaks so eloquently, and his dialogue is fantastic, just like Pinhead has this eloquent dialogue and way with words in Hellraiser. That's how Clive Barker does it. Tony Todd, he's so imposing with his size, and his voice is so raspy. He's so intimidating and scary by just being there and talking to you. And that's what I love about his performance. Some limited screen time, but he's got that presence, and you think he's in the film more because he's just that good. Virginia Madsen. She's a really, really good lead in this. Nice to look at. You believe her determination when she's trying to solve these murders, in Cabrini Green. And then you really feel sympathy for her when Candyman's putting her through all this hell afterwards while she's trying to clear her name and her friends are getting killed and the other people are getting killed and she's getting the blame. She's getting the blame and she's also getting arrested. There's this humiliating strip search scene with her. She's covered in blood, and all she's doing is bawling. She's thrown in a psych ward, and you want her to get away, and you want her to survive that final confrontation with Candyman. So yeah, very likable. There's a side story where she's married to this professor. The professor is having an affair with one of his students, and she knows what's going on, but she can't prove it, and you're siding with her because he's, this scumbag type of thing. So Virginia Madsen's really, really good. The only other... And Xander Berkeley plays her husband. He does a decent job for why he's there. And in the end, you understand that, yes, he's a douchebag because he's cheating on his wife, but he also really wants her to get help because in his mind, she's doing all these murders, and it's very believable, with his performance. So Xander Berkeley does decent. The only other actress or character of noteworthy, I guess, or noteworthy character is her friend Bernadette. Bernadette works with her at the college, and they just have a nice, rapport, just teasing each other and looking out for each other, and just really, really good. Don't know the actress's name off the top of my head. I don't know if it's in... Was it Kasai Lemons? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, Bernadette, really good actress. I like her in this. The gore is fantastic. We get lots of guttings, lots of blood coming out of the mouth. One of my favorite scenes is the opening scene where someone is telling the story of Candyman, and babysitter, the bad boy on the bike, played by Ted Raimi, who I don't know why they picked Ted Raimi because he doesn't look like a bad boy on a bike. They do the whole Candyman 5 times. She says it 4 times. He goes downstairs, waits for her to freshen up. She says Candyman one more time, and then you hear a scream, and Ted Raimi looks up to the ceiling, and you just see this pool of blood on the ceiling, and it just drips. We have a scene where an animal is killed. Virginia Madsen wakes up, and she's covered in its blood, and it's just so disturbing to see that. Lots of lots of hack and slash, and that's how Barker does it. Like I said, the gore with this dignified stuff, and I love it. Score, fantastic. I love how, again, the prim and proper with the gore stuff. I love how a lot of it is just classical piano music. It has that classic piano score when things are happening, just like during the montages. So good. I love how it also has some choir type music while things are happening. You got people not really chanting, but they're doing their vocals how you would in a choir, I guess, and it just fits perfectly in with this film. The way it's spliced into the specific scenes, it's just a perfect mesh of what's happening then with what's happening then with how the music, and it just brings those scenes to life, and fantastic job. And I like a lot of things. Bernard Rose, he's the director. Some really cool scenes. I love the opening shot. It's this opening shot of, above the city of Chicago, and we're looking down like God's view or whatever, seeing all the traffic and all the top of all of the skyscrapers, this and that, as just plain white like text of like the names just scroll down and then just move aside. So, and then there's a lot of really cool ideas like Candyman just kills somebody right in front of Helen, and he's got to disappear. So he jumps backwards, like curls into a ball, jumps backwards, and smashes out the window to disappear. So great choices, great camera shots. What else did I want to? Backstory of Candyman is kind of cool because it does make him a bit of a sympathetic character, at least when he was alive. I didn't care for he falls in love with Helen because Helen reminds him of the girl he was in love with before he was, killed and done what was done to him. And I've never liked that trope where the killer, it reminds me of, even though this came out way before, the Friday the 13th remake, where as much as I enjoyed that film, I hated Jason kidnapped the girl and kept her alive because she reminded him of his mom. I don't care for the fact that Helen reminds Candyman of his long lost love. It's just one of those horror tropes that I've never really enjoyed. But that is really all the complaints I have about Candyman. There's a subplot where Candyman he kidnaps a small child, and Helen's doing her best to rescue that child, and that's an intense scene. The scene where Candyman is covered with bees because he is stung to death in real life. That's how he was killed. So there's this obsession with this metaphor with bees, and there's a scene where he finally takes Helen hostage, and he opens up his coat, and he's covered with bees, and Tony Todd's face and mouth opens with real live bees, and he kisses Virginia Madsen, and she's literally covered with real live bees. It's an intense and uneasy feeling in that scene, and it's just perfect. What else can I say about this? Fantastic pace. It's 99 minutes, but it zooms by because it's just from start to finish. You're engaged with all these characters, and it's just so good, so well cut, so perfect pace. Another shot that I wanted to talk about, like that Bernard Rose did, not just the overhead, God's view shot. When she's investigating Cabrini Green, and she investigates where the murder happened, there's a scene where she's climbing through a hole in the wall, but it's a perfect shot of her coming through the hole, but there's graffiti around the hole as Candyman's mouth, so she's coming out of the mouth. And one last thing is there's a scene where she learns about one of the murders that happens in like a public toilet in Chicago in Cabrini Green, and just the way that it disgusts me thinking about the way that that set or whatever was decorated with the feces all over the walls and the way the toilets looked and just the grime and the you felt disgusted during watching that scene, and it's just her walking through that public toilet, rest stop area, whatever you call it, and you just see it and you feel like you need a shower afterwards because you get that grime and disgust, and you can almost smell the shit on the walls, and it's just fucking nasty. Yeah, so in the end, absolutely love Candyman. Highly, highly recommend it. Love Tony Todd. Virginia Madsen's great. Xander Berkeley and Bernadette, whatever, they do what they need to do. Fantastic score, fantastic feel, the contrast between dignified stuff and the gore, the great gore, everything, the pace. So glad that Legendary Slashers came up for Horrorman's this week, and Legendary Slasher is perfect for Candyman because you got the legend of the Candyman, and then the specific location, Cabrini Green, which is legendary in itself. So highly, highly recommend Candyman. Go check out Horrorman's channel. Like I said, the link will be in the description below. Give Candyman a watch. Give him a sub. And then that's it. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, all that jazz. Like I said, I don't know how often I'm going to be doing these Horror Man Slashback challenge, but I'm really, really glad that I did this week. And I think for my first one, you always remember your first time. Candyman was great. So, in the end, I will say cheers and be my victim.